Listen carefully. The most dangerous person in any room is not the loudest one. It's not the most aggressive one. It's not even the smartest one. It's the one who sees what's really happening, because most people don't lose to stronger opponents. They lose to better readers. You've been taught to work harder, be kinder, be patient, be fair, but no one trained you to recognize when the game itself was tilted, and that is where people get dismantled, not because they are weak, because they are unaware. Here's the truth most people never say out loud. Manipulation rarely feels like attack. It feels like normal conversation. It feels like delay. It feels like maybe later. It feels like confusion. It feels like politeness wrapped around control. And by the time you realize something is off, your position has already shifted. You reacted. They calculated. You tried to fix. They repositioned. You looked for clarity. They used your need for clarity as leverage. Understand this clearly. Power does not scream. It studies. The people who consistently outmaneuver others are not operating from emotion. They are operating from observation. They are watching patterns while you are explaining yourself. They are measuring responses while you are trying to be understood. And once you understand that, you stop feeling offended. You start feeling alert. Most people assume fairness is the default setting of the world. It's not. Fairness is a negotiated condition. It only exists when both parties benefit from it. The moment someone benefits more from imbalance, fairness disappears quietly. And if you are not paying attention, so does your advantage. There is a difference between being a good person and being a predictable person. Many people confuse the two. Predictable people respond the same way every time. They defend immediately. They clarify quickly. They show emotion openly. They reveal their pressure points without realizing it. Strategic people do something different. They pause, not because they are unsure, because they are gathering information. Silence is data collection, stillness is evaluation, and restraint is control. If someone pushes you and you react instantly, they now know exactly where your edges are. They know what irritates you, they know what motivates you, they know what scares you, and once someone knows your emotional map, they can guide you without you realizing it. This is why emotional discipline is not coldness, it is self-protection. Most people believe authenticity means expressing every feeling in real time. That is not authenticity, that is exposure. Exposure without strategy becomes vulnerability, and vulnerability without awareness becomes leverage, but not for you. There is something you must accept if you want to stop being maneuvered. People move toward benefit, not morality. Morality is often a justification layered on top of self-interest. That doesn't make people evil. It makes them human. But if you ignore that reality, you will constantly misread behavior. Instead of asking, why would they do that? Ask something sharper. What changes in their favor if this continues? That question removes emotion from the equation. If someone delays decisions and delay benefits them, the delay is intentional. If someone creates confusion and confusion protects their position, the confusion is useful. If someone pushes urgency and urgency corners you, the urgency is strategic. Intent is invisible. Advantage is measurable. When you begin tracking advantage instead of tone, your entire perception shifts. You stop being hypnotized by delivery. You start noticing positioning. Watch how people behave when they believe you are distracted. Watch how they speak when they think you won't challenge them. Watch what they prioritize when no one is watching. Behavior under comfort reveals more than behavior under pressure. Another mistake people make is over-participation. They believe more involvement equals more control. It doesn't. Sometimes constant presence makes you easier to read. When you are always available, always responsive, always engaged, people stop valuing access to you. They assume it, and assumed access removes urgency. Scarcity is not arrogance. Scarcity is structure. When access to you requires intention, behavior adjusts. People prepare more before speaking. They think more before acting. They calculate more before pressing. But when you are immediately reachable, emotionally open, and endlessly accommodating, pressure becomes cheap. And cheap pressure is applied often. There is power in stepping back without announcement, not as punishment, as calibration. When you remove immediate feedback, you force others to reveal their default behavior. Some become respectful, some become reckless, some become entitled. All of it is information. Information is advantage. Another thing you must understand: closure is addictive. People crave resolution. They want conversations wrapped neatly. They want misunderstandings clarified. They want tension dissolved. But urgency for closure often benefits the person who created the tension. If someone introduces confusion and you rush to fix it, you are now working harder than they are. Pause. Let silence expand. Let them fill it. People uncomfortable with ambiguity speak too much. And when they speak too much, they reveal too much. You do not need to correct every assumption immediately. You do not need to clarify every misinterpretation. Sometimes letting someone believe they have advantage shows you how they behave with it. That behavior tells you everything. The strongest position in any exchange is not aggression. It is unreadability. When others cannot easily map your emotional state, they lose the ability to steer you. When they cannot predict your reaction, they hesitate. Hesitation creates space. Space creates leverage. You can care deeply without broadcasting it. You can notice manipulation without announcing it. You can adjust without accusing. This is where composure becomes intimidating. Not loud intimidation, quiet intimidation. Because nothing unsettles someone seeking control more than calm resistance. If someone attempts to provoke and receives neutrality, they escalate. Escalation reveals intention. Let them escalate. Observe what they are willing to sacrifice for control. Observe how quickly tone changes when influence slips. This is not about becoming detached from humanity. It is about separating internal feeling from external reaction. You feel fully, you respond selectively. Another shift that changes everything is abandoning straight-line thinking. Most people treat conflict as a sequence. They say something, you reply. They argue, you defend. That is linear, but power rarely moves in straight lines. It moves through environment. If someone pressures you publicly, the pressure is not the statement, it is the audience. If someone pushes urgency, the urgency is not about time. It is about narrowing your choices. If someone questions your competence, the question is not about skill, it is about perception. When you respond directly to surface conflict, you often strengthen the frame they created. Instead, change the context. Move the discussion privately. Delay response intentionally. Shift focus to long-term structure instead of immediate emotion. By changing environment, you dissolve momentum. Momentum favors whoever initiated it. Slow the pace. Reclaim timing. The one who controls timing controls tension, and tension directs outcome. Another overlooked form of power is strategic absence. Presence creates familiarity. Familiarity reduces perceived value. When you step back without drama, you create space for evaluation. People reassess your role when you are not constantly reinforcing it. You do not announce withdrawal, you simply reduce unnecessary engagement. You stop over-explaining. You stop volunteering emotional updates. You stop offering constant reassurance. And watch. Some will lean in respectfully, some will pull away entirely, some will attempt to regain control through increased pressure. Their response tells you how they viewed you, as partner, as resource, or as convenience. Distance clarifies perception, for you and for them. There is also something powerful about silence in reputation. When you do not rush to defend yourself, others interpret confidence. When you do not chase validation, others assume stability. When you do not compete for attention, attention gravitates. The world reads composure as authority, not because composure is loud, because it is rare. Most people leak urgency, they leak insecurity, they leak emotional need, containment changes that signal. Containment says, I am not in a hurry to convince you. And the person who is not in a hurry usually holds the stronger position. Finally, understand framing. Whoever defines the meaning of a situation controls its direction. If someone labels you defensive and you argue that you are not defensive, you have already accepted their frame. Instead, operate in a way that makes the label irrelevant. Consistency erodes false narratives. Reaction strengthens them. If someone tries to corner you into proving yourself, refuse the premise. Move forward without engaging the accusation. Over time, the frame collapses because it lacks reinforcement. Most people waste energy fighting definitions. Strategic thinkers redefine context. They let time expose exaggeration. They let composure dismantle attack. And they conserve energy for positioning. The shift you are making right now is subtle but irreversible. You are beginning to see interactions not as emotional exchanges but as positional exchanges. You are realizing that restraint is not weakness. Silence is not surrender. Distance is not defeat. They are tools. And tools used calmly reshape environments quietly. You do not need to dominate rooms. You need to understand rooms. You do not need to confront every tactic. You need to outlast it. You do not need to prove strength. You need to preserve leverage. Once you stop reacting on cue, something interesting happens. People who relied on managing you grow uncomfortable. They test. They probe. They attempt to re-establish predictability. Do not rush to restore their comfort. Comfort was your vulnerability. Uncertainty is your shield. The moment you stop playing the visible game, you start winning the invisible one. And the invisible game is the one that decides outcomes long before anyone realizes it. This is where part 2 begins to deepen. Now we go deeper. Because awareness alone is not power. Awareness without positioning still leaves you exposed. You've learned how to see. Now you learn how to move. There is a level of control most people never access because they are obsessed with being understood. They want people to know their intentions. They want their character recognized. They want fairness acknowledged. But the people who truly shape outcomes are not focused on being understood. They are focused on being interpreted correctly, without explanation. There's a difference. When you explain yourself too often, you train others to evaluate you. When you move consistently without explanation, you train others to adapt to you. Adaptation is submission in slow motion. Most manipulation succeeds because it feeds on emotional immediacy. Someone pushes, you answer. Someone doubts, you defend. Someone withdraws, you chase. This creates rhythm. And rhythm creates predictability. Break the rhythm. When someone expects defense, give stillness. When someone expects pursuit, give distance. When someone expects emotional reaction, give observation. Pattern interruption destabilizes control. People who try to steer others rely on knowing the next move. Remove that certainty, and their influence weakens. There is another truth that few are willing to accept. Power accumulates around those who appear internally complete. Neediness, even subtle neediness, drains authority. The need to be validated, the need to be agreed with, the need to be seen as right, the need to resolve discomfort immediately. Each need becomes a handle. Handles become leverage points. Leverage points become pressure zones. If you eliminate unnecessary needs, you eliminate leverage. That does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop depending. The less you depend on emotional confirmation, the more stable your posture becomes. And stability is intimidating. Think about the people who quietly command rooms without raising their voice. They do not rush to speak. They do not fight to dominate space. They let conversations unfold while they watch. Their value increases because their reactions are scarce. Scarcity again. This is not manipulation. This is self-governance. When you govern yourself fully, others lose the ability to govern you indirectly. Another advanced shift is understanding long-term positioning over short-term victory. Most people argue to win moments. Strategic thinkers concede moments to win perception. If someone accuses you publicly and you retaliate emotionally, you may feel momentary satisfaction, but you strengthen the drama. If you remain composed and let inconsistency reveal itself over time, perception shifts naturally. Time is an amplifier. It magnifies patterns. If your behavior remains consistent and theirs fluctuates, observers recalibrate without your involvement. The strongest reputations are built through repetition, not rebuttal. There is also the art of selective transparency. Complete transparency is not honesty, it is exposure. You choose what people know about you based on what serves your trajectory. Not to deceive, but to protect structure. If people know your long-term plans too early, they adjust against you. If they know your insecurities too clearly, they press them. If they know your thresholds too precisely, they test them. Mystery preserves optionality. Optionality preserves power. Another subtle form of dominance is emotional non-retaliation. When someone attempts to lower your energy and you refuse to match it, you rise without effort. Matching energy validates it. Refusing to match energy isolates it. Isolation forces the other person to confront their own tone. Most people mirror unconsciously. Conscious mirroring is strategic. If you want to neutralize tension, lower your tone. If you want to expose aggression, remain calm while they escalate. Contrast creates clarity. Clarity shifts perception, and perception shapes allegiance. People align with stability over chaos in the long run. Always. You must also understand the principle of silent observation in alliances. Watch how people speak about others when those others are not present. That is how they will eventually speak about you. Watch how they handle small advantages. That is how they will handle larger ones. Watch how they react to boundaries. That is how they react to loss of control. Patterns whisper before they scream. Listen to the whispers. There is something transformative about refusing to personalize tactics. When you stop interpreting manipulation as a personal attack and start seeing it as strategic behavior, emotion detaches. Detachment increases accuracy. Accuracy increases precision. Precision increases control. Instead of asking, "Why are they doing this to me?" you begin asking, "What position are they trying to secure?" That shift alone prevents countless emotional traps. You stop being offended. You start being analytical, and analysis dissolves panic. Another elevation is learning to operate without announcing growth. Do not inform people you are becoming more strategic. Do not declare you are setting boundaries. Do not warn that your standards have changed. Just move differently. Sudden clarity in your actions will force recalibration around you. When people sense they can no longer influence you the same way, they adjust or retreat. Either outcome benefits you. Authority does not argue, it behaves. You will also encounter resistance. When your composure increases, some will attempt to provoke more intensely. They will accuse you of being distant, cold, unreachable. Understand this clearly. When someone loses emotional access to you, they often interpret it as rejection. Let them. You are not responsible for maintaining access to your internal world for anyone who misuses it. Boundaries are not hostility, they are filtration. Filtration separates alignment from convenience. Another strategic advantage lies in internal framing. If you view challenges as threats, your posture tightens. If you view challenges as calibration, your posture expands. Posture influences tone. Tone influences perception. Perception influences treatment. The story you tell yourself becomes visible in your body language. Control the internal narrative. External stability follows. There is also immense power in delayed reaction, not avoidance. Delay. When something unsettles you, do not respond immediately. Time clarifies emotional distortion. What feels urgent today may feel irrelevant tomorrow. Urgency often serves the initiator. Time serves the composed. When you delay reaction, you allow the emotional wave to pass. Then you choose response, not reflex. Response builds authority. Reflex exposes vulnerability. You are not trying to be untouchable. You are trying to be intentional. Intentional people do not move because they are pulled. They move because they decide. That difference changes everything. Now understand this. Not everyone deserves your full strategy. Some interactions require minimal engagement. Some require silence. Some require repositioning. Do not waste depth on shallow opposition. Disengagement can be more powerful than domination. When you refuse to compete for attention or validation, you remove yourself from comparison. Comparison weakens. Positioning strengthens. The more you embody calm self-direction, the more others project strength onto you. Projection works in your favor when you are steady. If you remain unpredictable emotionally, but consistent behaviorally, you create psychological gravity. People start adjusting to your tempo. Your silence becomes heavier. Your words become rarer. And rarity amplifies impact. Never forget this. The loudest player in the room is often compensating. The calmest player is often calculating, and calculation outperforms volume every time. At this level, you stop chasing fairness. You start engineering alignment. If alignment is not possible, you withdraw investment. You do not fight every imbalance. You reposition until imbalance cannot reach you. This is where real evolution happens, when you stop proving, when you stop reacting, when you stop overexposing, and you start choosing. Choosing when to engage, choosing when to remain silent, choosing when to step back, choosing when to allow consequences to unfold without interference. Because here is the final shift. Control is not about dominating people. It is about mastering yourself so completely that external tactics lose impact. When someone cannot provoke you, cannot rush you, cannot guilt you, cannot confuse you, cannot corner you, they eventually stop trying. Not because they respect you, because the return on effort is too low. Low return discourages manipulation. High emotional return encourages it. Lower the return. Raise the cost. You do that through composure, scarcity, delay, and frame control. Quietly, without announcement, without aggression, without cruelty. Power does not require noise. It requires precision, and precision is silent. As you move forward from this moment, something inside you will feel different. Conversations will feel slower. Conflicts will feel clearer. People's patterns will feel louder, and your need to respond instantly will weaken. That is growth. You are no longer operating from reaction. You are operating from selection. Selection is authority. Authority does not beg. It does not chase. It does not explain excessively. It exists. And existence at that level reshapes environments without visible force. Let others misread you if they must. Let them assume you are unaware. Let them underestimate your restraint. Because while they are projecting, you are observing. While they are performing, you are positioning. While they are reacting, you are preparing. And preparation defeats impulse every time. Remember this as you leave. The strongest person in the room is not the one who controls others. It is the one who cannot be controlled. When you master that, manipulation becomes transparent, pressure becomes manageable, conflict becomes navigable, and silence becomes your sharpest instrument. You are not here to dominate. You are here to remain unshaken, and the unshaken eventually become untouchable. Move quietly, observe deeply, choose deliberately, and let the world adjust to you. Because once you understand positioning, you are no longer surviving the game. You are shaping it.